Namaste, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया. I am JVN Dr. Meenakshi, Assistant Professor in Department of Shalakya Tantra, Faculty of Ayurvedic Science by Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. In previous session, we discussing the applied physiology of the aqueous humor. We are discussing the aqueous humor, volume, function, diffractive index, composition, and the composition of aqueous humor differs from composition of the uh, posterior chamber. So now we'll study the aqueous humor production. The humor is formed from the plasma by the non-pigmentary ciliary epithelium of the ciliary processes of ciliary body, the pars plicata. The aqueous humor is formed in the three steps: ultrafiltration and secretion and diffusion. So, first of all, by ultrafiltration, most of the plasma substances pass out from the capillary wall, loose connective tissue, and pigment epithelium of the ciliary processes. Thus, the plasma filtrate accumulates behind the non-pigment epithelium of ciliary processes. Then the secretion. The tight junctions between the cells of the non-pigment epithelium create part of blood aqueous barrier. Certain substances are actively transported across this barrier into the posterior chamber. The active transport is brought about by potassium ions, sodium activated ATPase pump, and carbonic anhydrase enzyme system. The substances that are actively transported include the sodium, chlorides, potassium, ascorbic acid, amino acids, and bicarbonate. Then third step is the diffusion. The active transport of these substances across the non-pigmented ciliary epithelium results in an osmotic gradient, leading to the movement of other plasma constituents into the posterior chamber by ultrafiltration and diffusion. Sodium is primarily responsible for the movement of water into the posterior chamber. These are the three steps. Then next point is the drainage of the aqueous humor. Aqueous humor flows from the posterior chamber into the anterior chamber through the pupil against slight physiological resistance. From the anterior chamber, the aqueous is drained out by the two routes. One is the trabecular outflow, and other is the uveoscleral or unconventional outflow. The trabecular meshwork is the main outlet for uh, aqueous from the anterior chamber. Um, Approximately 90% of the total aqueous is drained via the trabecular outflow. Um, the free flow of aqueous occurs from the trabecular meshwork. From the aqueous humor from the anterior chamber will go to the anterior chamber, then trabecular meshwork, and free flow of aqueous occurs from the trabecular meshwork up to the inner wall of Schlemm's canal, which appears to provide some resistance to outflow. The mechanism of aqueous transport across the inner wall of Schlemm's canal. Uh, it is a partially understood vacuolation theory is there. It was one of the most accepted view till recent past. The passive filter mechanism occurs through the leaky pores in the endothelial cells, through the contraction filament, through the Sondermann's channels, and the vacuolation theory was given. It was the most accepted view. And other mechanism of aqueous transport across the inner wall of Schlemm's canal was the aqueous outflow active pump mechanism. What is the vacuolation theory of aqueous transport across the inner wall of the Schlemm's canal? According to it, the transcellular spaces exist in the endothelial cells forming the inner wall of the Schlemm's canal. They are called the transcellular spaces. These open as a system of vacuoles and pores, primarily in response to pressure, and transport the aqueous from the juxtacanalicular connective tissue to the Schlemm's canal. From the Schlemm's canal, the aqueous is transported via 25-35 external collector channels into the episcleral veins by direct and indirect system. A pressure gradient between intraocular pressure and intrascleral venous pressure is responsible for unidirectional flow of aqueous. So, is the vacuolation theory. They have shown the non-vacuolated stage first, then they have shown the stage of early unfolding of basal surface of endothelial cell. Then third, they show the stage of macrovacuolar structure formation. In fourth, they have shown the stage of vacuolar transcellular channel formation. Then fifth is the stage of occlusion of the basal unfolding. Uh, the second drainage system was the um, this uveoscleral outflow, unconventional outflow. It is responsible for about 10% of the total aqueous outflow. Aqueous passes across the ciliary body into the suprachoroidal space, and it is drained by the venous circulation in the ciliary body, choroid, and sclera. It is summarized in this flowchart very clearly. Then, important factor is the intraocular pressure. The intraocular pressure refers to the pressure exerted by the intraocular fluids on the coats of the eyeball. The normal intraocular pressure varies between 10 and 21 mmFHg, and the normal level of IOP is essentially maintained by a dynamic equilibrium between the formation of and the outflow of the aqueous humor. It is determined by the rate of aqueous secretion and the rate of outflow. If there is equilibrium, then the normal level of intraocular pressure will be there. The factors influencing the intraocular pressure are: first, the local factors. The rate of aqueous formation, which in turn is influenced by the permeability of ciliary capillaries and osmotic pressure of the blood. Then the resistance to the aqueous outflow, drainage. From the clinical point of view, this is the most important factor. Most of the resistance to aqueous outflow is at the level of trabecular meshwork. The third local factor is the increased episcleral venous pressure, which may result in the rise of IOP. The Valsalva manure causes the temporary increase in the episcleral venous pressure and rise in IOP. Then next factor is the dilatation of pupil in patients with narrow angle can cause rise in IOP. Um, relative to obstruction of the aqueous drainage by the iris. The next is the refractive errors, which will lead to the increase in IOP. Then general factors are hereditary. It influences IOP possibly by multifactorial modes. Then age, the IOP increases after the age of 40 years, possibly due to reduced facility of aqueous outflow. Then sex, IOP is equal between the sexes in ages 20 to 40 years. In older age groups, increase in mean IOP with ages greater in females. Then diurnal variation of IOP. Usually the IOP is greater in the morning than evening. and it has been related to the diurnal variation in the levels of plasma cortisol. The normal eye have a smaller fluctuation, less than 5 mm of Hg. Then postural variations, IOP increases when changing from the sitting to the supine position. Then blood pressure. As such, does not have long-term effect on the IOP. However, the prevalence of glaucoma is marginally more in hypertensives than the normotensives. Then osmotic pressure of blood. An increase in the plasma osmolarity is associated with the decrease in IOP and vice versa. Then general anesthetics and drugs also influence IOP, like alcohol lowers the IOP, tobacco smoking, caffeine, and steroids may cause rise in IOP. In addition, there are many anti-glaucoma drugs which lower the IOP. So here completes our anatomy and physiology of the applied physiology related to the glaucoma. Thank you so much. This session is powered by digital version 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University. I hope you are satisfied with my digital session. If you have any query, please mention in the comment box. I will resolve it. Thank you so much.